Okay, what's up, folks? Rich Van Tassel giving you our weekly NBA report. It is Monday, January 2nd. We didn't do it yesterday on Sunday because it was New Year's. In the Eastern Conference, Cleveland still setting the pace. They're 25 and 7, 2.5 game lead over the Toronto Raptors, who are 23 and 10. The next closest team is the Boston Celtics, 3.5 games behind the Toronto Raptors, 6 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then Charlotte, who is 4.5 games behind the Raptors, 7 games behind the Cavaliers. Cleveland and Toronto, though, are plus 7.3 for Cleveland, plus 7.9 for Toronto in their differential. The Boston Celtics plus 1.9, plus 2.3. So plus 1.9 for the Celtics, plus 2.3 for the Hornets. So while they're only 3.5 and 4.5 out respectively from the 2 spot, you see the real difference there with the differential with Toronto, and then they're still 2.5 games behind Cleveland. So of course the Cavaliers and Raptors still setting the pace up top. Atlanta now 18 and 16. They've won 3 straight games. They've been up and down all season. They're in the negative in their differential. Negative 1.6, but they got off to a hot start, then lost a bunch of games. Now they're winning games in a row, so it's been all over the place for the Atlanta Hawks this year. Really confusing team in that regard. This has been a consistent team. They won 60 games, obviously, 2 years ago, and then last year they made it all the way to the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, beat the Boston Celtics, and were eliminated, swept again by the Cleveland Cavaliers. So for them to be this inconsistent, they almost won 50 games last year, 108 wins between the 2 years. It's really confusing in that regard. Dwight Howard still playing very well, 14 points, 13.2 rebounds, 1.4 blocks. So I'm not really sure why they're struggling so much, because Dwight Howard has replaced Al Horford in that regard. I didn't have them playing this well coming into the year, obviously. I had them down to 10th. I feel it would have hurt. But Schroeder is replacing Jeff Teague pretty nicely. He's got 6.3 assists. So I'm not getting it for Atlanta Hawks, considering how good of a coach Budenholzer is going, that they're this inconsistent. Washington making strides. They're all the way up to 6th. They're 16 and 16 at 500. Winners of 3 straight, 7 and 3 in the last 10. They're minus a half a point. Milwaukee 16 and 16. They're plus 2.5. So their plus in the differential is better than the Celtics. Indiana 17 and 18. They continue to struggle. Really surprised by that, as we said last week. Indiana brought in too many players like a Jeff Teague to be struggling like this. He's 15.3 points, 7.7 assists per game. And his shooting, I'm going to bring that up right now. Shooting, though, 42.3%. So that's not awful, but not great either. So still, with a Paul George on your team, the improvement of Miles Turner was expected in adding Jeff Teague. Really disappointing. Knicks, another team up and down. They've now lost 4 straight. They were 16 and 13, 3 and 7 in the last 10. Chicago, a lot of news going on with Rondo. 16 and 18. A lot of inconsistent teams. Detroit, 16 and 20, 3 and 7 in their last 10. So they were 13 and 13 at one point. Orlando, 15 and 20. But Orlando, who is in the 12th spot, is only 2 games out of the 8th spot, and still really only 5.5 games from 3rd. So you see the difference, but those teams have been much more inconsistent. Like the Celtics have started to get on a roll, but still, even before that, they were still, while marginally above 500, over 500. Charlotte's pretty consistently been above 500. Everyone else has been dropping off. And of course, Cleveland and Toronto at the top, but everyone else has really been dropping off. Then you got Miami 10 and 25, Philly 8 and 24, the Nets 8 and 24 as well. But Philly minus 7.5, the Nets minus 8.4. Philly's actually 4 and 6 in their last 10. That's like reason to pop the champagne bottles for them. In the West, Golden State 29 and 5 continues to set the pace, 9 and 1 in their last 10. Plus 12.7 in their differential. That's far and away the best in the NBA. The second best is Toronto at 7.9. That's almost 5 points better. San Antonio 27 and 7 in that Western Conference. Of course, the Houston Rockets, we'll get into them in just a moment. They're coming on, but like last year, you have at the top the Golden State Warriors and the San Antonio Spurs. Kevin Durant, 25.9 points per game, so his scoring has not gone down. Just put up a triple-double the other night as well. With Golden State, that's only not even really a concern. It's just a real note that I'm looking at is who's going to score the bulk of the points. Are they going to continue to let Kevin Durant, go off scoring, or are they going to try to bring a guy like a Klay Thompson along more? Maybe it's Steph Curry a little more involved than Draymond Green. I don't look at it as an issue, but just as far as their scoring, how's that going to go? Of course, Houston 26-9. Like we said, their coach doesn't want to play any defense and loves offense. Their best player, James Harden, doesn't want to play any defense and loves offense. 12 assists for James Harden. Very surprising there for a guy who handles the ball as much as he does and likes to get to the rim. Excuse me, and shoots as much as he does, 8.1 rebounds per game. He's clearly got to be up there in MVP, even though I would say Russell Westbrook's numbers are better. James Harden, his team is 26-9. No one was really expecting that. I mean, they might win 60 games. They continue this pace. Certainly going to be right around 55 wins. 8-2 in their last 10 winners of 4 straight. Utah getting hot, 21-13. Winners of 3 straight, 7-3 in their last 10. I expected Utah to be right there for the playoffs. I didn't expect them to be this high, but now they're really coming along. Gordon Hayward, 22.1 points per game. Clearly their best player. Hayward, his numbers had always gone up. There may have been one year the points just drifted, just dipped half a point or something in there, but he went from 5.4 to 11.8 to 14.1 to 16.2. No, they've improved every year. 19.3, 19.7, 22.1. I thought there was a season, it was 14, 15, 15, 16, where it was 19.7 to 19.3 the other way around. But you see his numbers have improved every year. His shooting percentage from the first year, which was 85%, but he wasn't really attempting as many shots. He was only attempting 4 shots per game, just over 4. Since then, it was only, except his second year, he's been averaging over 10 shots a game. Now he's over 15. So you can see why his shooting percentage would go down a little bit. He's at 45% this year, 35 from 3. So he's certainly very effective shooting the ball. Gordon Hayward continues to get better, and this guy is going to be a star in this league. So that's why Utah continues to improve, continues to get better. I'll be interesting to see how much of a team and a factor they could be. Of course, Derek Favors, who's still only 25 years old, a guy I was expecting a little more from this year. Excuse me, 8.5 points, 6.1 rebounds per game. Gonna need more out of him. Dante Exum, a guy they drafted a few years ago, he's not really coming along, so they even have guys on this team that you're expecting to come along. Alex Burks out of Michigan. No, Alex Burks not out of Michigan, out of Colorado. He's not been coming along either. Rodney Hood, another guy, still young. He's starting to come along, though. So those are really the guys that are doing it. Rodney Hood at 14.3 points per game. Alex Burks at 13.3 points per game. Those are the guys who have come along, and guys like Dante Exum and Derek Favors haven't. So that's something to keep an eye on. Of course, they have Joe Johnson on the bench, giving them 8.5 points. He's added some veteran presence, but that's an interesting team, Utah. If Derek Favors and Dante Exum can ever start to figure it out, I think that team could be really dangerous. We'll have to see. Then you have Oklahoma City Thunder 21-13, 6-4 in their last 10. Memphis Grizzlies 22-14. Los Angeles Clippers 22-14. They've lost 6 straight. The Clippers, however, but still. The next team is the Sacramento Kings, 14-19, 4.5 behind the Los Angeles Clippers. So it's really the 7 teams, and then Sacramento and everyone else. Denver Nuggets, 14-19. Portland, 15-21, really letting me down. New Orleans, maybe in contention. They're only a game out for that 8th spot. They've won 4 straight. Of course, they have Anthony Davis, a monster player in that regard, putting up over 29 points per game. So we know what he brings to the table, but after that, New Orleans, you have the Lakers. Then they're 3 games behind New Orleans. Timberwolves continue to incredibly disappoint. Dallas Mavericks, Phoenix Suns. So the power rankings, Golden State obviously number 1. Cleveland, I'm going to give them number 2 at 25-7. Spurs, 27-7, number 3. Houston, number 4, 26-9. Then the Toronto Raptors, 23-10. All right, in a little bit, we'll give you the Celtics report. Be sure to stay tuned for that. We thank you very much. Have a good one. See you soon.